So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed a pleasure to to be with you all this afternoon, and I'm very happy to share with you that today we have Dr. Shadrick with us, and Dr. Shadrick is does not need any introduction, but the problem is it is just a formality that see we have to introduce our guest. So I would request Dr. Sri Kumar to please introduce him, and I would request all the EC members to please mute themselves, and also if they can disable their videos. And the questions will be put up in the comment box of the YouTube. So once the lecture is over, Dr. Sri Kumar will be taking up all the questions. So over to Dr. Sri Kumar, please.
Thanks, Dr. Akhtar Parvez. Dear Dr. Shadrat, members of Malibnet, dear delegates of the National Librarians Day Special Lecture, dear senior colleagues and budding professionals from library, academic fraternity and fellow students, good afternoon. Let me welcome you all to this program, and let's all stay safe. Today is a very special and a signature day for all of us, library and information professionals, and in particular, and the academic fraternity in general, as we all proudly celebrate the 128th birthday of Padma Shri Dr. S.R. Ranganathan, the father of library science. Friends, we have today with us a very special speaker to deliver this special lecture on the occasion of the National Librarians Day, and it's a pleasure to extend a very warm welcome to Dr. B. Shadra, a truly brilliant and amazing well-wisher of librarians and the public library movement in India. We found, we feel, and we consider he is the best fit speaker for the day and for the occasion. Dr. Shadra will be speaking on the relevance of Dr. S.R. Ranganathan's philosophy of 5 laws of library science for the 21st century libraries. Dr. Shadra will enlighten us with his vast knowledge, experience, and wisdom. I have the pleasure of introducing Dr. Shadra. He is currently serving the Commonwealth of Learning Canada as Advisor Skills. In this capacity, he advances the mission of the Commonwealth of Learning in a variety of initiatives and services. Dr. Shadra served as the founder chair of the Indian Public Library Movement. He was highly devoted to see the IPLM, the Indian Public Library Movement, emerge as the voice of the Indian public librarians and the other stakeholders interested in reviving the public libraries in India. Dr. Shadra has had the very rare opportunity of working with under the leadership of Sir Tim Berners-Lee, none other than the inventor of the World Wide Web. He was the Asia coordinator of the World Wide Web Foundation for its Alliance for Affordable Internet. It is shortened as A4AI program. Dr. Shadra also consulted for the Global Libraries program of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in their program in India. And he is the chair of the International Network of Emerging Library Innovators program in South Asia, led by the M.S. Swaminathan Research Foundation, Chennai. Prior to the above assignments, Dr. Shadra served as the global CEO of the telecenter.org Foundation. And prior to that, Dr. Shadra worked for IRDC, IDRC, Canada, managing ICT4D research grants in Asia, including the Mission 2007, Every Village and Knowledge Center initiative of India, led by Professor M.S. Swaminathan. In partnership with the International Telecommunications Union, Dr. Shadra has also launched the Telecenter Women Digital Literacy Campaign. He was the global coordinator of the Grassroots Caucus at the World Summit on the Information Society in Geneva and in Tunis. In his more than 3-decade-long career since 1986, Dr. Shadra has managed ICT4D programs in over 35 nations around the world. He has also served in senior management capacities in a variety of organizations such as the British Council, Transparency International at its international secretariat in Berlin, and the One World International. He has consulted for the Department of International Development, UK, the International Telecommunications Union, the Asian Development Bank, Practical Action, UK, United Nations Development Programme, the Open University, UK, Article 19, UK, and the ICT Agency of Sri Lanka. For his thesis on measuring the impact of rural information access initiatives, Dr. B. Shadra has been awarded PhD by Loughborough University in UK. So friends, please welcome Dr. Shadra.
Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sri Kumar. It's a pleasure to be here. I must thank Dr. Meeta Rathod and Dr. Akhtar Parvez for inviting me to join this August event. This is a very special day for all of us, celebrating the 128th birthday of Padma Shri Ranganathan, who is reputed to be the father of Indian librarianship. I am also able to see some colleagues that I work with. Mr. Dharamveer is here, who I had the privilege of working with him at the Indian Express years ago. And thank you, the executive committee members of the ManLibNet, which I understand to be a very vibrant network of library professionals in the management industry. Thank you again. Today, I am going to speak for about 20 minutes, followed by which I am happy to take some question answers. If you allow me, I can share my screen and use a PowerPoint presentation which I have prepared, which would guide our talk. Thank you. Yeah, so the topic given to me was the relevance of Ranganathan's philosophy of 5 laws for the 21st century libraries. So very interesting topic because we are talking about Dr. S.R. Ranganathan and the relevance of many things that he had accomplished during his lifetime, one of which was the pronouncement of the 5 laws of library science, what we come to know as the mantra of librarianship. So I'm going to talk to the various phrases in that topic, which refers to 21st century libraries. It refers to the 5 laws. It refers to the philosophy of 5 laws and the relevance of the philosophy of 5 laws. And finally, I would wind up my presentation on focusing on how the philosophy and its relevance of 5 laws impact the 21st century librarianship. So when you look at the 21st century librarianship, we have libraries in all shapes, forms, and effects. Largely libraries are classified as school, academic, public, and special libraries, which includes scientific and governmental libraries also. But when it comes to the forms, as you can see, one of these libraries that I've shown in this slide, a very interesting library. It's largely physical. What we see around the world is the physical library collection, but increasingly we are also embracing digital objects and digital material as part of our hybrid collection, if you like. So the holdings are no longer books on shelves, but a variety of formats. We started off with magazines, periodicals, and so on. But today, we are not only focusing on manuscripts and rare books, we are looking at digital resources, and most of these resources and compilations are actually digitized as we speak by various effects. But when it comes to the 21st century libraries, the effects of the libraries are more in the service that only make the difference. It's how we are holding our collection, both physical and digital, in order to meet the demands of our users, non-users, who we normally call customers, but it's all in the ability and the capacity of the librarian. So we are looking at a new trends in librarianship, where we find artificial intelligence, machine learning, search engine optimization, a range of content development networks emerging. COVID has taught us how to utilize the meeting rooms beyond our own auditoriums and whatnot. So digital meeting rooms are happening, where colloquiums and other deliberations are happening. We're also looking at augmented reality and virtual reality books, holograms, which are the rule of the day today. In the next 5-10 years, the investment in augmented reality books are going to be very, very high, to the tune of billions of dollars. And we also see a major threat to librarianship in terms of the technological companies and the technological giants who are basically looking into investing, including the telecom giants, into content development networks, particularly in the edutainment industry that they are focusing, and entertainment industry, of course. So the survival is going to be very interesting for us in the next 10 years or so. So the 21st century libraries are going to be very interesting for us to note. We have just crossed 2 decades of the 21st century, but in the remaining decades, would it be the survival of the fittest, and what is the situation? We will only wait and see. When it comes to the 5 laws, each law actually speaks to a particular connotation. Of course, books are for use. When it comes to use, we always focus on meaningful use. We go beyond books. We are looking at books in newer formats. As I mentioned, the AR, VR books, e-books, digital books, Kindles. Google Glasses and other technologies have come to enable us to flip the books in the thin air as we travel and move around. So there are all sorts of objects that are available, knowledge objects, as we speak. When it comes to the issue of every reader, his or her book, it's all about access. You know, we are talking about access, and who our reader and user, what does she or he want, what does she or he want to access, what do we mean by books, and what does book mean to the user? And sometimes is it the notes, lecture notes? Is it video lessons? Is it curriculum, e-textbooks? Is it reference material, project work? For different people, different things are important when it comes to knowledge acquisition. So, the 5 laws, the second law speaks to access, whereas the third law, every book its reader, talks to outreach. Outreach in terms of how do we reach out to our customers with every knowledge object that we have? How do we maximize our books and holdings? Do we reach out to only those who are within our reach, or do we also go to people out of our reach? How do we manage to market every knowledge material that is held by us? Do we also go to the extent of appreciation of knowledge objects? We have learned about book appreciation clubs and so on, book promotion work and so on. But today's world, it's all about database utilization, online resource utilization. It's also about a decision on what to procure, what not to procure, because there's a dearth of material. And we have also come to a stage whether we want to only deal with what others procure and produce, and we procure, but also could we produce ourselves? Could we be leaders in developing open education resources, open knowledge resources, open source books, and so on. So now every book its reader gets a new dimension, with production technology becoming very easy and possible, particularly for the library fraternity. When it comes to the save the time of the reader, what does it mean? Does it mean efficiency? Why save time? Is time money? Is it rampant? Because information overload, Are we playing a special immediate intermediary role in terms of sifting through the resources and making it easier? What does it mean to save something for someone? You know, there are questions that we need to ask. And what is critical to readers? And what is critical to those who are outside of realm that we cater to usually? Who is responsible then to cater to those people who have no access to material? So, you know, this question of saving the time of the reader actually goes beyond the customers that we serve. And the last one being library as a growing organism, we understand this particular aspect to be growth, to be a meaningful growth. But growth happens only with investment. We also need to take decisions how to grow, what to grow. Do we grow our physical collection or physical space? Do we renovate? Do we modernize? So how do we evolve a library into something meaningful for the future is something that you know, we are faced with as we ponder upon the 5 laws. Now, when it comes to the philosophy of 5 laws, interestingly, you know, it gives us different dimensions. One of the philosophies of the 5 laws is democratization of knowledge and bringing in accountability. As librarians, not only we have the ability to make everything available at the disposal of people for their utilization and consumption, we can also, you know, ensure that, you know, the stop page of use of knowledge is also something that, you know, we can fight on. You know, Ranganathan was talking about opening up the resources, making everything available, each holding to be meaningful, and our profession to be really responsible and accountable to what we hold, whom we serve, and how we serve. The second philosophy I understand from the 5 laws is, you know, Ranganathan has brought in an organization culture and an orderly culture. He taught us how knowledge organization could take place and why knowledge organization is key to promoting knowledge. And he brought in systemic approaches to maintaining the libraries through his cataloging, classification, and various principles that he brought in. He brought in another set of principles, philosophical ideologies in pluralism and inclusiveness. You know, he's perhaps one of those who taught us very early on that every book is reader, every book is for use, every reader or every user or non-user needs to be supported with. So it's all about fighting elitism and being inclusive and embrace all sorts of readers, whether it's life cycle approach that we follow, right from as they do in Chile, before you get the birth certificate, you give a library membership to the child, to many libraries that are now looking at to catering to the elderly, to the jobless, to the homeless. All sorts of inclusiveness is practiced today. And he also brought in the equality and equity notion in librarians' approach. Without any discrimination, all people can have everything accessible to them. The librarian's profession is all about value addition and appreciation of resources and knowledge material. He has brought in the notion of adding value through, say, what he called the bibliographical services, selective dissemination of information, organizing seminars, abstracting services, and so on. The philosophy also enables us to accept and understand multiplication and expansion. When you call libraries a growing organism, it's all about networking, it's all about multiplying our resources, sharing our resources, enabling the space to be not just a physical space, but a knowledge space that's available out there in the wilderness everywhere. And finally, we also get to recognize this fact that libraries are all about truth and belief. The philosophical notion of libraries is to fight post-truth, fight fake news, the role of the librarians as we speak. We also know that librarianship is all about no one left behind. This is the mantra of the SDGs, the United Nations and others, but librarians a long time ago practiced and made it relevant for them to ensure that no one in their vicinity is left behind. So even if many institutions fail, librarians never. They also made sure that the universal principles, the universal service obligation to every person, rich or poor, through their service delivery, they were able to reach out to make something for everyone. For more, by making available everything for someone, librarians ensured that they will make available something for everyone. We also make the bylaws relevant to us by making our own roles very efficient and effective in terms of measuring our effectiveness. We constantly look at how we serve, who we serve. We go beyond the busyness data of how many people we serve to how we serve and how does it impact their lives and their livelihoods. And we also make it relevant by being adaptable and resilient, not just as a straitjacketed institution that usually die a natural death, but we are adaptable. We evolve with times. So we have various constraints, but we always come out of calamities. We come out of staff crunch, budget cut, and even competition from actors like Google and others. We don't fight our competitors, but we focus on our work, developing newer techniques, by remaining resilient, connected, and relevant. So this is how we have actually made the bylaws relevant to us. So when it comes to the relevance of bylaws today in the 21st century libraries, I spoke about earlier, the libraries are evolving. It will be very interesting for us to see the newer form of libraries in the next 20 years. Are these going to be just buildings? Or they're going to be virtual structures, which will be the norm? Would we give augmented reality experience for people to not just actually physically access the building, but sitting at their own comforts? Would we be able to give them the ability to go browse the racks, pick up their books, and read it as we speak? So without having to actually physically enter a library, which means everywhere, every time, all the time, without having to worry about the 9 to 5 opening hours and so on. So is it what going to be the norm of tomorrow? Something that we need to look into. And we know that at least in the pandemic time, we have seen three things very important. Our homes were important, where we were holed up, from where we accessed services, goods, including library services through our devices, and bandwidth became very, very important in our lives, particularly when it comes to using meeting rooms and webinar halls and so on. But when it comes to accessing libraries remotely, these are going to be much more interesting in days to come. And as we speak, ITU itself tells us that only 55% of the world is connected. There was a report yesterday in Times of India or Indian Express, I don't remember, but this is all about how teachers in Odisha are coping with the poor connectivity, and how they are having to climb up to the rooftop to get the connectivity so that the students can fill up their forms, and the submissions could be made to the government on time. So we are in a situation where we are looking at facing the rich world, bandwidth rich world that streams everything in 5G. We are also talking about places like Bangladesh and the Pacific, where we are still working around with 2G, moving to the next generation technologies. The A4AI Worldwide Foundation has recently put out a document to say that how much money does it take for somebody in Malawi or Cameroon to buy a handset to access knowledge and be connected. So we are in an alternative world where we recognize the potentials of technology and the technological gadgets and objects and production possibilities, but we are also looking at a greater divide as we speak, particularly when it comes to learning, education, and so on. So what is the new normal? New normal for us, a majority of us, is all about value addition. How do we add value? Now, during the pandemic, one of the ways, even this association, ManLibNet, is doing is adding value to the lives of all of us by organizing seminars. Our new normal is all about human development. Our new normal is all about empowering people with knowledge and knowledge resources, and the ability to not just use knowledge but also produce knowledge. The new normal is always going to be, as it used to be, cost effectiveness, and moving to a networked regime where we are going to see, bringing the thoughts to your bedroom, or bringing the knowledge objects or learning resources, not just in the form of books that we can flip through, but also through augmented and virtual realities, giving that experience of immersing people in experiencing something that we have never experienced. Maybe a library can enable each citizen of the world to experience spacewalk. Maybe a librarian could enable through the resources every citizen to experience what it used to be in the Stone Age, what it is going to be in the future. So there are umpteen possibilities that we are looking at through networks, value addition, and knowledge disposition. So to recap quickly what I spoke in the last 15 minutes, it's all about 21st century libraries. Librarianship is all about consolidation of knowledge power, both physical and digital. But perhaps, going forward, it would be much more digital and less physical. Physical would be converted into digital, and digital would be brought in as form of physical resources that are in front of us through our Google glasses and whatnot, what they call the objects, access objects. The philosophy of 5 laws, these are evolving. It has always been an evolution of new ways of usage, access, outreach, efficiency, and growth. But we have also made it relevant to us by actually reversing the role. Reversing the role is very interesting for us because how do we reverse the role? We are no longer just facilitators and keepers of knowledge objects, but we are active promoters. We are also those who are producing. Many libraries, as we speak today, we see libraries having production units in their own rights, in their own places. You have production studios, you have open education material produced in libraries. You convert every webinar into a knowledge object. You break things into frequently asked questions. You create databases. So we are actually making our roles reversal. So I wanted to, stop here and say that our role has been a new incarnation. Libraries evolved over a period of time to reinvest, reignite our own imagination, but also we have gained new grounds because librarians and libraries are no longer mere knowledge organizers. We are being knowledge producers, what they call packaging of knowledge, repackaging of knowledge, and production in every stream. So it's not just facilitation, but it's active role of communication, production, and innovation. So if we wish to learn a thing or two from the 5 laws, I think this is what we learn. We need to continue to innovate. We need to continue to remain relevant to times. We need to embrace Dr. Ranganathan's philosophies and ethos in our daily life. Rather than on the 12th of August, remembering him once a year, I think we are living his philosophy, his ethos, and his whatever he's left behind almost a century ago is something that we continue to thrive upon. So thank you so much. That's where I end my presentation. I've deliberately used some very mega libraries as images just to indicate that the Western world, particularly the developed countries where The internet access is rampant. The augmented realities are rampant. People have the ability to access information and knowledge. Libraries sitting at their drawing rooms and bedrooms, but yet they are investing in libraries. They are investing in producing mega physical forms. Whereas in developing countries where we have limited access to technology, we also equally have a very limited number of libraries, under-resourced libraries. We are yet to recognize the potential of libraries as policymakers, as decision takers, as investors in the realm. Uh, we have only survived in the academic stream, where quite a few universities and academia have recognized the importance of libraries. But unfortunately, when it comes to the schools, particularly government-funded schools, the resources are very slim. When it comes to public libraries, the resources are very where we have to basically not only advocate and move into the next dimension of creating library movements within our country. We also need to ensure that in all the policy discourses, including the National Education Policy 2020, libraries find a special place, and these are mainstreamed as important actors, important facilities, public service for the public, for the nurturing of mind. So we need to somehow do some justice to Dr. Ranganathan and what he has asked us to do years ago. And here we are. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shadra. Yeah, you were quite successful in capturing the very essence of the laws. As we all know, these are timeless laws. These are evergreen laws. And even if it is looked back in 22nd century, it will be useful. I mean, only thing is you may have to rephrase them as it is not, I mean, palatable to the citizens of the age. So thank you so much, Dr. Shadra. It was very nice. And I'll come to you for thanking you for your wonderful speech. But then we have some questions. Can we take the questions?
Sure. Sure. I'll be happy to.
The technology, what is going to play in the future, and also the kind of money that is being pumped by corporates, you know. So where do you see the effect of these in the libraries, maybe from 10 to 20 years from now?
I think, you know, as I somewhere stated that it's going to be consolidation of, you know, the efforts. You know, we may have to collaborate at work and support one another. Library fraternity would need to come together, not only to advocate, but also to share resources. But also we need to have a particular value proposition. You know, unless we raise above the existing, you know, prevailing conditions, create our own avenues at the national system, whether it is the implementation of SDG 4, or you know, even in the realization of new education policy in human development domain. If we do not have something to demonstrate that we are national, we are coming together under a national scheme, national program, we are going to really struggle hard to survive in days to come, because you know, the telecom giants like Zio, for instance, or the entertainment giants like 21st Century, you know, there are umpteen players today who come in to play their role. So who are not only producing content, but also manipulating minds and the ability of an individual to be confined to fewer websites, fewer databases, and fewer content development networks. So we are actually facing the danger of the technology companies actually sweeping over and taking over. And I think we need to recognize this danger, but we need to come together. At least groups like ManLibNet or many of these associations would need to now think hard in terms of producing
Very
something
nice,
together.
because this is the time for us to wake up and introspect and come for brainstorming as to how we should leap forward, so that we are not actually falling in the major pitfalls, because technology is actually posing a lot of challenges with respect to the libraries, future libraries are concerned. You very rightly touched upon the point that we need to create more value, especially in the wake of the NEP 2020, that is the new education policy. I think we need to do a lot of things, because the entire education structure is being reworked. Thank you so much on that. And then there is one more question. There are a couple of more questions. I think 5 more minutes, 10 more minutes we will spend on this. Is digital divide not hampering us to achieve the objectives of 5 laws in India?
Well, so far, thankfully, we have some form of physical libraries today that people are able to reach out to. But we have also seen in the pandemic times, the physical resources are not adequate to meet the needs of the people, particularly when it comes to the active learning community and the community that has lost their jobs, particularly if you look at the migrant workers to the professionals who lost their jobs, and the future of jobs are actually taking us to a new era where lifelong learning becomes a mantra for everyone who would like to survive. People were to change jobs every 4 years, 5 years in the next new normal. The young people, already the millennials are facing this, but we are already in Zen Alpha. The newer generations are going to be really under a lot of pressure in terms of reskilling themselves, upskilling themselves. So we have a major role to play in terms of using technology to not only reach out to the downtrodden and the unreached, but also the professionals who need to skill, reskill, and upskill themselves. This means, as library community, we need to actually advocate for um, at least bringing the bandwidth to the libraries as public resources, as resources that are essential to render public service to and add value to the lives of people. And to, in many cases, we also shown libraries can save lives and save livelihoods. But, ever since the Knowledge Commission recommended that every library should be given high bandwidth, digital network put on the national knowledge network, we are still struggling to actually impress upon the government. And I think this is a good question that you asked. Is digital divide hampering us? Yes, it does hamper us. It will hamper us even more in the future unless we come together.
Interestingly, the new education policy is very vocal about the rural public goods, like schools and public systems and public libraries. They say very particularly that that they have to be endowed with more resources and more infrastructure. I think something strong or something instrumental will come up. We'll have to wait and see. We have a couple of more questions. Why public libraries are not taking off in India the way they do in developed countries? This is the libraries' efforts.
I think we haven't had a strong public library movement for many years. The public libraries were thriving, especially during Ranganathan times and thereafter, when knowledge was for the first time opened up to the public. But we have also seen a decline of the usage of public libraries, particularly in terms of the investments in public libraries over a period of time. And unfortunately, we don't have a voice for public libraries today. other than the Raja Ram Mohan Rai Library Foundation and the innovative library leaders in various states of our country, where if the state library director is vocal enough, is able to actually impress upon the government and the ministries and the department of department under which they are put in, there is some traction that we have seen, but largely in the country the investment has been very, very minuscule. And whatever investment we have made only in facilities rather than in strengthening our capacity and resources.
Okay, maybe one or two more questions only. What do you think the future of learning, taking a cue from the aftermaths of COVID-19 and also the role of libraries?
The future
Because
of learning is
online, everything is going virtual.
Yeah, the future of learning is going to be very, very different. Once upon a time, we only were we were good. We were pronounced good if we were able to read, write, and do arithmetic. But the future is all about comprehension, communication, and computation. Coding has become not a luxurious skill, but an essential skill. Comprehension and critical thinking and critiquing, augmentation, information inquiry, digital literacy, all these have become important skills with which we would learn to innovate, to basically produce, to not just do a 9-to-5 job, but end up in the driver's seat of basically being innovators. And that's going to be the new norm of tomorrow. And we definitely see the need to communicate, need to compute, need to comprehend as essential for the future of learning.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shadra. It was really wonderful, informative, knowledgeable. You have shared wonderful thoughts with us, and I think it will stay. It will remain with us for long. What else can we hear about the relevance of 5 laws for the 21st century? By seeing the whole world of libraries, you have opened up the Pandora box of libraries to us. Very wonderful, very, very interesting. Thanks a lot. From the very bottom of our heart, we express our sincere thanks to you for sitting awake till 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. And I know, we all know that you have to spend another 2 hours with the Sharda Ranganathan Research Center. They are organizing a panel discussion today. So thanks a lot for agreeing to our invite and delivering this wonderful lecture. On behalf of ManLibNet, on behalf of the participants, on behalf of all the librarians, being the Librarians Day, we express our sincere thanks to you, gratitude to you, Dr. Shah. Thank you.
My thanks to you.
I think
for
if you have any
share.
if you have any questions from the EC members who are joined with us, maybe EC we can give 2-3 minutes to them, because still we have, I think, 4 or 5 minutes. So if any of the members would like to ask any questions or interact with Dr. Shadrach.
Yeah, they can very well. They are panelists only. No?
Yes.
You can unmute and.
Yeah, sir, can I speak?
Yeah, sure,
Hello.
sure.
Hello.
Yes, please go ahead.
Can I speak?
Please go ahead.
Shadrick, yeah, it is just my observation. We worked together in 90s, say 30 years before, with Indian Express. And what I found from Shadrick, he has really grown up and doing a wonderful job, and his lecture which he has given to me has really touched my heart. And what we talked there, he has come to the blueprint and make the maturity of that one. I must congratulate him for his effort, sincerity to attain what he is at present, and I wish him all the best in future life. And we are thankful to him that he has spared so much of time for ManiBullet. As I am also EC member of the ManiBullet, it is a great proud when I came to know that he is coming. I had a talk with Mr. Akhtar Parvez in the morning, and we said, okay, you have chosen a very good speaker, and I must compliment him for all the things. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Any other
Thank
EC
you.
member, please?
May I ask a question?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Dr. Shadrach, where do you see the Indian academic libraries in the near future?
I think, thankfully, the Indian academic libraries have somehow survived the wave in terms of excelling in their practice. If you look at the higher education institutions in particular, we see some interesting trends, and also there is this major competition that the higher education institutions face among each other, make them actually invest in libraries, and they've also been able to attract good quality library graduates leading the front. So I think the future of academic libraries relies on two things. One is these academic librarians and their ability to actually demonstrate and raise the flag of Indian librarianship. I think they need to be at the forefront, because unfortunately the school librarians, the public librarians do not have that level of confidence, bandwidth, and withdrawal. So they need to actually come forward and take the leadership position in the Indian librarianship. But at the same time, when it comes to the academic librarians, they need to invest every day at least an hour of their time in terms of developing newer techniques and newer ways of producing knowledge resources, adding those values that we talked about earlier. So the academic librarianship will flourish if the academic librarians invest at least an hour each day in terms of growing the profession.
Absolutely. Yeah. Any questions? Any more questions?
I think that
Yeah, just one question, Cedric. Yeah, just one question. Cedric, you are associated with the IPLM, Indian Public Library Movement, and I've been also working with you on this project. But yeah, we are not able to understand where we are lacking behind. Our children, our adults, they are not approaching the books. They are differently way just working on the mobile and nothing else. So what do you feel about seeing the scenario of the world where we are lacking behind? Is it our government or the public or ourselves, or how we can go ahead with that one so that the people take interest in the public library movement? Thank you.
Yeah, I think, when it comes to knowledge production, we need to take cognizance of what interests the new generation. And if the new generation is cued on with certain ways of learning, certain ways of informing themselves, educating themselves, and also entertaining themselves, we need to go to the crux of it. And that's where the technology companies seem to do a lot of research in terms of the knowledge acquisition behavior of young generation today. Unfortunately, when it comes to the school libraries in early child development, the librarians are not given the space to invest enough time and efforts to understand the learning behavior of the children. I think the library schools have to produce newer generation library professionals who are more bent upon doing research, doing action research, doing the kind of inquiry that we teach others to follow, we ourselves should follow in terms of learning how people learn, learning the newer techniques to meet the learning needs of the communities, particularly children themselves, so that what we inculcate in them, not just the reading habit, but the critical thinking, the inquiry skills, the knowledge acquisition skills, appreciation skills can stay as foundations for them for the future. This is where we need to train the minds of the librarians, school librarians and public librarians. And in a way, I think there is a greater responsibility for library educators to develop curriculum so that for librarians and their lifelong learning, there are possibilities for them to equip themselves and gain newer skills at every level of librarianship.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. I think all questions are over. So I join Dr. Srikumar in thanking you, Dr. Cedric. It was indeed a treat for us today on this National Librarians Day. And we would like to thank you from the bottom of our heart and on behalf of all the members of our Executive Council. Let me just express my sincere gratitude to you. and we hope that we'll associate more in the future in various Melibnet ventures. So with this, I would like to thank you, and thank you, Dr. Sri Kumar, and thank you all these members.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shadra. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy Librarians Day.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank
Shadrach.
you to all.
Bye.